It's really good to hear behind the scenes stuff that we get often after these games, and this week was a really good example of that. We heard Mike Bobo, Kirby Smart being very direct with their team. They're going to go right at Clemson. There was going to be no confusion about what's going to happen. Here was what Bobo had to say. He said, "What kind of attack is it?" And then he screamed, "A front door kind of attack. That's what kind of game it is." And Kirby had this to say. He said, "The front door is getting kicked in." Turns out Clemson didn't have enough, chains on the door to stop the Dogs from not just coming in, but just throwing them all around the whole day. It was an outstanding performance from Georgia. It's hard to stop talking about it, but I think that when you hear these behind the scenes things, the locker room speeches, um, they are preparing their team to go win. Well, that's the wrong way to put it. Their team is prepared to go win. They are motivating them to get the job done and to make it happen. And I think that when you're playing Clemson with, they were clearly talking to the offensive line saying, "Hey, you're going to have to get it done," and they did. I mean, over time, it took a while. It did. I wonder how many yards Georgia had rushing in the first quarter, first half. But when you wind up with 269 yards rushing on 27 carries, that's a great job. This was a giant fight. There were only 112 plays in this game. Keep motioning to the statistics. There were only 112 um, plays in this game from these two. It was an amazing, fight from Georgia getting the job done against Clemson on Saturday. Obviously, Georgia got Tennessee Tech this coming Saturday. This Friday, I will be at Red Zone downtown in Athens from 3 to 5. So 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. I'll be there talking about the Dogs. You can come by and hear me. You can come by and say hello. If you've got, dog structure, you've got double dogs, I can sign it for you if you already have one. If you don't have one, Scott and Minnie have plenty left in stock. I don't think they're going to be sold out by then, but check that out on Friday. I'll be there from 3 to 5 on Clayton Street downtown in Athens, and it's going to be a lot of fun seeing everybody again. We've not had a home game in Athens since the Ole Miss game, 6+ months ago, so it's been some time, and it's going to be good to get back to Athens. There was some discussion of weather in Athens this weekend. I think we should be okay. In the morning, there will be some rain. There's a chance of rain. Overnight, it looks like it will rain. So that will be a soft turf at Sanford Stadium. I'm looking forward to that. That's a good thing. There won't be any front door kicking in, I don't think, on Saturday for Georgia. They should be able to run all over Tennessee Tech, a team that lost their first game, a tight one to Middle Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken. So this will be another opportunity for Georgia, its players, to get out there and develop. You saw over the weekend, maybe some of y'all did not, Kentucky had to shorten their game. There was a lot of weather in the area. Kentucky had to shorten their game because of the situation for the Cats. That's not great. They're playing Southern Miss, a decent school, frankly. It's someone you can really get better with or against. Georgia didn't have that. You want to play the games as long as you can because it develops guys who we're seeing now. Cash Jones, just name anybody on the team. I mean, Nate Frazier needs some work. Not a lot, I wouldn't say. Cash Jones. You always want your specialists out there. It gives Anthony Edwards the opportunity to go return some kicks, etc. You got a lot of guys on the defensive side of the ball. KJ Bolden, Ja'Cory Thomas. We'll see what continues to happen there. But I think, the dislike or whatever it is for Mike Bobo is always, makes me giggle a little bit because it's kind of like people have just decided what they're going to say about Mike. Usually those folks have decided bad and just roll with it. This guy is a very good motivator. And if you've not heard these, I'm not going to play it on here because of copyright infringement, but you can go to Dog Post and listen to it. I'll tell you right now, I mean, that high pitched voice from Mike Bobo is one of the like war cries in college in college football. I mean, um, to ask Todd Gurley about Mike Bobo and his motivating tactics. Everybody hears Kirby and the salty language, if you want to call it that. I will say this too about language. I mean, and Dan Schmatzer, if you're watching, it doesn't hurt my feelings at all. Our coach in college. I had two coaches in college. One was a ranger in Vietnam, and the other one was very aggressive. And so there was plenty of testosterone pumping through our practices all the time. And if you cuss all the time or too much or whatever, the effect is not the same as when you need to use it or whatever. But when you're just talking about kicking the door in, that is implied that there is going to be some real harm done. You don't need to say any sort of words, cuss or regular, cussing words, as Garrison Smith used to say from Mark Richt. I mean, Mark Richt got into it sometimes too. So language is a great, it's how we communicate. And by the same tone or the same, I think we need to recognize, or at least I will, that I think Dabo said exactly what he needed to say after that game. There was no explanation. There was no, people overuse the word excuse. There was a recognition by Dabo about his situation, about Clemson's situation in that game, after the game, and that they just got, their brains kicked in. And that's just all there is to it. Hey, Autographs on the screen right now. It's a really neat app that gives you the ability to see all of these different, like for instance, here's a great look at how you can use the app. Make sure when you're signing up that you're using the code UGA. I have the Braves on here too. It gives a great example of, what you can get tickets on here. It's a very neat app. Make sure you're downloading it, and that's Autograph, and the link is right down below. You can check that out as soon as possible or without delay for sure. I think that I'm still looking for a lot of things this weekend. It's going to be curious to see how much do we see of ETN. What's the story going to be on Frazier? I don't think Roderick Robinson's going to be back for a little bit of time. We will not have any Mikael Williams sightings. This is going to be a game that you're going to want to see Carson Beck out late in the second quarter. And when I mean out, I mean like not playing in the game, not that he's injured. This is a game where you're going to want to have a lot of development. Guys like C.J. Allen a season ago were getting some work in this. You got Impemba, Harris, Wilson, Bowles, Peel, Harris. I mean, like there's all sorts of guys that can get some serious work. Hall, Jarrett. If you're healthy, you need to be ready to play in this game. And you can't, like, this is a week that Kirby and them they can't scream and yell. I don't think they're not going to get not scream and yell like front door, knock it in. You're not going to get the attention of the team. It's a big week for Gunnar Stockton for sure. I mean, he came in late against I almost said Florida State. He came in late against Clemson. Had a it looks like he's the backup. He's going to have a lot of time on Saturday. He can't just go in there and just he needs to perform too. I mean, soon enough, someone besides Carson Beck will be the starting quarterback at Georgia. That's why these moments are so big. Again, the story from 2019, Stetson Bennett redshirted or was the Baker Mayfield, the scout team guy in 2017 for the Georgia Bulldogs. He realized he would not play in 18. You had a returning starter who got in Georgia the national championship game. You had a 5-star player in Justin Fields who went on to be an NFL starter. Those two guys were going to be in front of him in the depth chart. He left in 19. Justin transfers. Georgia doesn't have really any backup. Here comes Stetson Bennett. And it was early. It was this time of the year when Stetson got in there, and it was an important moment, I think, in his development. It was the Murray State game, and Stetson threw a pick six, and there wasn't anybody there at the game. I mean, like, nobody was there, and it just, that day Stetson went 9 of 13 for 124 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. He threw a touchdown to Demetrius Robertson, and I think he may well have run one in, but he was afforded the ability to learn that day. And I wonder, and I mean, when the next time I am around Stetson, and if we're talking, I may ask him, but those moments are really important, because he really didn't, from that point forward in 19, there just were not a lot of moments where he could play in games. I mean, 2 weeks later, they lost. They played Notre Dame. That was tight. They blow out Tennessee. I don't think Stetson played in any game from that point the rest of the season, because all the games were so close. The Carolina game, they lose. They beat Kentucky in a disgusting performance offensively. It was a tight game against the Gators. Missouri, 27-0. Got up 21-0 against Auburn and had to hold on 19-13 against Texas A&M. He did play against Tech. And then, the last 2 games of the season were LSU and then Baylor. And then, 2 games after that, I know it sounds strange, Stetson Bennett was the starting quarterback of Georgia. A game after that, he was saving them at Arkansas. So these moments, there's not tons of them in seasons sometimes. I recognize that the 19 season, that they were limited offensively. They had a quarterback that was not a big playmaker. You had DeAndre Swift. That was really their explosion that season. They just didn't have a lot going for them at the time. And eventually, Stetson Bennett became the quarterback. Eventually, they won the national championship with him. But it's much better. It's easier to land the plane when you have moments like this right now. You're not going to have to kick the door in today on Saturday. You get to just land the plane. Hey, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next newsletter.